here. This is not Fireside, so if you're looking for Fireside, scroll on down and it's the video before this one. So this is just the after Fireside if anybody wants to come back late night and chit chat a little bit. We've been coming on and chit chatting about the case out in Arizona, Nancy Guthrie, missing, kidnapped, ever how you want to call it. And so we've been coming back after Fireside and just having a little discussion, talking about whatever clues might have been released that day. But it just seems like ever since the FBI got on the scene, mum's the word. They are not releasing hardly any information at all. The biggest thing that they've released is the video of the guy at the front door disabling the cameras and all that kind of stuff. So that's all they really have released. I'm sure they know a whole lot more than what they're telling us. And they may not tell you the truth. They may say they may have a match, but they may not tell you because they may be watching somebody. So you can't believe anything you're reading on Facebook. There's a lot of news outlets out there, a lot of crime people out there with YouTube channels and all that. Deb said she thinks the sheriff is involved. Well, I would certainly hope not that sheriff's involved. They're not doing that. I don't know what they're doing. But what they release a lot of times don't make too much sense. But Linda said she took a fast shower and put her PJs on. Linda, when I was first reading that he took a shower, I thought, is she talking about the kidnapper because he stayed so long inside Nancy's house? I got to read these whole sentences, y'all. How did this become a FBI case? I think because it was a high profile person, kin to somebody that's high profile. Plus, it was an elderly. I mean, elderly, 84 years old woman, high profile, and I forget the other reason. Oh, because it was like a kidnapping. It wasn't like she just, most old people just go missing. They don't get kidnapped. Kids get kidnapped all the time, and it's usually somebody in the family and stuff like that. But it was so unusual. I think that's why it just pulled at the heartstrings of America, because it was an elderly, real elderly, 84 years old and not good health. And you put those two together, that's why it was so important that I think they thought they'd find her pretty quick. At first, they didn't know that it was a kidnapping. Jennifer, there's no proof she was kidnapped. Well, I think the mere fact that, well, they believe she was home, put it that way. It is her blood on the front porch, so that's that. She didn't go to the hospital to get help, and I guess they can tell from, we don't know what the inside of the house looked like. We don't know any clues from the inside of the house. We don't know how the person got in. They're keeping all of that, mum's the word on all of that, because it's all about it's all about keeping everything hush hush while they're investigating. Yeah, a lot of time has gone by. Yeah, the news, I mean, you get where everybody's getting discouraged because you turn on the news and they act like they have breaking news, but it's something that they reported the first day. They only have a couple hints that they even reported, and then they nothing. Once the FBI got on scene, you don't give press releases, you don't give updates, because you're not going to tell what you know, because 9 times out of 10, the whoever is responsible for this, they're watching more of the news than we are. They're glued to the news because they want to know what the FBI knows. They want to know, are they looking down here in Mexico? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? So I don't know if she's ever going to be found. The FBI, usually when the FBI is involved, they're going to crack the case. They are. It might take them a bit because they got so many false leads coming in. It's crazy. Yeah, a lot of people don't know what to think about that sheriff. I don't really know anything about that niece that got arrested. They have not said anything about that on the news. Sometimes the YouTubers are saying stuff. Vicky Foster's over here on YouTube. Vicky, once we get off of a live, you can go on YouTube and comment your name and address. But don't do it while we're live because all the comments disappear. So once the live is over, go back into YouTube and comment on the video. Yes, criminals watch the news more than we do, y'all. And what about the chair? Somebody said, what about the chair? I don't know what about your chair you're talking about. Let's see, Danny, is that Danny Duncan said he's been pretty sick? Is there a time limit I don't know what the time limit is. I think as long as they're getting a lead here and there, they're waiting for some of this stuff to come back. I can't believe that they searched her whole house, the biggest house that was, I don't know how difficult it is to get DNA from a crime scene, but it looks like that big of a house. I even heard that something was cooked in the microwave. I don't know where I heard that at. But surely the guy wasn't in there eating up something. Some people say they didn't think that sheriff was qualified. I don't know how long he'd been around or something, but I mean, a case like this, I think if it was me when the FBI come in, I would let them take over. I don't know if he's trying to make a name for himself or what, but even if it is his jurisdiction, I think I would let the FBI say, y'all just have at it. Dawn said, yeah, people are making up videos and they're not true. They are not true. If you see all this stuff posted by people on Facebook, it's not true. So only believe the stuff that the news stations are putting out, and even some of them are jumping the gun and putting stuff out and it's not true or it hasn't been told yet. Yeah, I don't know. Did anybody else hear that about they found food in the microwave or that had been cooked at Nancy's house? As if somebody said, oh, he could be like Tony and popping him some popcorn in the microwave. I didn't see a GoFundMe for Nancy. I don't know what they would need a GoFundMe for. I mean, if her daughter's worth millions of dollars. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can't believe. And I don't know if it was ever confirmed about the girl that got arrested being Nancy's great niece or something like that. Let's see. Yep, they're putting out yellow roses for Nancy out by her driveway. I seen some neighbor come walking down there, was telling the police something, and she was screaming at all the news outlet not to take her picture, or she was going to sue them. And she had money, and she'd sue them if they take a picture of her. But their cameras are rolling, and she's walking right by them. So, lady, it's a public street. You can't say don't take my picture on a public street. So, you know, if you're on a public street, you're fair game. I don't know if this is all a distraction. I can't imagine that it would be a distraction because how are you going to solve it? Yeah, I did hear that the FBI is going to all the gun shops, and they had a list of 40 people's names that had either purchased guns or purchased holsters. They were trying to go that route. Yeah, I know they never did find that John Bonet or whatever Ramsey. Now I ain't certain nothing about no freezer or nothing. See all this stuff, if you just see it on Facebook, people's just making that stuff up so you'll click on it. Yeah, they're saying that well, they come on and they say like, oh, the the clothes he was wearing may have been purchased. Well, yeah, it may have been, but it may not have been. They don't know. They shouldn't even say anything like that. If they, if it's not facts, just leave your opinions out. Oh, somebody said they just read about the GoFundMe. It's to collect the money for the Bitcoin. Someone from Tucson is doing it, and they want to get $65,000. Yep, they never found Natalie Holloway. Well, that was over in another country. Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't donate for no Bitcoin. Not when I don't think those ransom notes are legit. I don't know though. I mean, on one hand, you hope she's alive, but on the other hand, you wonder. You know, what is a Bitcoin? A Bitcoin is sort of like it's a bank account that's kind of overseas where they hide money. And so it's called Bitcoin. And a Bitcoin is right now the cost of one Bitcoin is like $67,000. You buy a Bitcoin and you put $67,000 in this bank account and you transfer it to somebody else. And a lot of people think it can't be traced. Once it goes international, it can be traced, but it's harder to trace. So people try to use that Bitcoin to get around moving, like money laundering and stuff, moving their money around. Yeah, it don't make sense because the reward is now up to $100,000. So if you knew anything, this the one ransom note kept saying, I'm afraid I won't get the money, or but you ain't showed us Nancy. You ain't showed us nothing about Nancy that could be alive. Somebody was told me that the people next door to her been out of the country or something, and that they go to gem shows like GEM, and they collect gems, and maybe they were trying to rob that house, and they had the wrong house. I don't know, because they was surprised to see that camera, which that don't even make sense. But everything is speculation. Exactly, Jennifer. That's all we can do because we don't know. It'd be one thing if they gave us some clues every day, but once the FBI got involved, y'all, I told you there won't be no clues coming. Everybody that has any credibility to them is saying this is the strangest case. This case will go down in history because it's the strangest case ever. Yeah, the news shouldn't be telling too much. Yeah, I don't understand why you would take an old lady that can't barely walk. I wanted that old lady because if she got in the way of something, just tie her up and leave her until you can get out of Dodge. Or take her cell phone and throw it outside or something. You know, get a chance to get away. But maybe she recognized them, and that way they couldn't leave her there. Who knows? Because the most time you're not going to drag a hostage around, and you're sure not going to drag them around for 3 weeks. Yeah, nothing was taken from the house that they can tell. It is very strange. They don't really know a motive except for revenge or money, but if it's for money, it's usually get in and get out fast. Grab the woman the next day, grab the woman and leave the ransom note right there. I got your mother, send me this money and you can have her back. Bye. But just, emailing a ransom demand to a radio or news station, and don't tell them anyway. There's no two-way contact. So without two-way communication, I don't think that thing is legitimate. Yeah, they just keep repeating the same thing, And I was surprised to hear that they found 16 or 18 gloves while they were out there looking, and that most of the gloves probably came from the investigators looking. Why would an investigator throw a glove on the ground? Now that's stupid if you ask me. First of all, a public person like that getting paid, police work or whatever, don't throw anything on the ground. You're littering. And why would you discard a glove? I don't litter anywhere. And for them to say they found in the vicinity 16 to 18 gloves, that's ridiculous. And now they're trying to say the glove that they picked up that some news station took a picture of, that's not the glove that they sent off. And it's just, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. Yeah, there's no proof of life. Yeah, Angie said that was my question. What are all these gloves doing on the ground? And most of them was like the little black gloves or something, but who's throwing gloves out on the ground? Yeah, I thought that was crazy about finding so many. I thought they only found 1 or 2 gloves, but now they're saying they found a whole bunch, but it didn't make sense. Nothing makes sense about this case, y'all. Yeah, it could be people, investigators or news people or somebody throwing the gloves around so they can say, oh, I found glove. I hope she's alive, you know, for her sake. And I hope she's alive so we'll know that the outcome of this whole thing. Because if they never find her or if they find her dead, we're not going to know anything what happened to her. Or what, you know, what the whole thing was. All right, well, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and get off here because we ain't got a whole lot to say. And I think I'm going to go get in the hot tub for a minute and rest my back a minute. But if anybody hears anything, well, let me know. Only if it's legitimate from a news station. Yeah, somebody out there knows, Margaret, that's for sure. That's why they keep asking for the public. Somebody knows something. Yeah, just keep praying that the investigators' eyes will be open, that God will open their eyes to show them some clue that will get this case solved. All right. Thanks for everything. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining in the chat. And I did put the chickens up. All right. Good night, everybody.